Yep.
Okay, so here we go.
Here we are.
Inspired by the Canadian Federation of the Blind.
Outlook. A show about accessibility.
Advocacy.
And equality.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kerry.
Outlook. On Radio Western. So this is part pre-recorded montages from our radio show today, as well as some live discussion. I want to get people a little bit of an idea of our show.
Good to be clear of that, right? Because there's been a big mix of both today. So
for sure.
Tell.
So that right there is our theme, of course, and we actually presented about Outlook.
David Perry has joined the meeting.
Back in 2019 at the
David Brunner has
convention
left the meeting.
In person back in Burnaby 2 years ago now, almost just about. So crazy to think it's been that long, but we're here again today with an update. At that point, we'd done, I think, 40 episodes or so, and now we just finished 111 shows. So quite a development, and it's been quite a while since we've been able to talk about this at the convention, so we're really happy to be here today.
Yeah, we've surpassed 100 episodes now, and actually Sky Mundell, who's been here at the convention and on the panel this morning, he was a guest on our 100th show, and he played the piano, and so if you haven't heard it, go check it out. There actually will be a transcript of that in the Blind Canadian, the next issue, if you want to read it instead of listen, but I recommend you listen, or both.
For sure. You know, we talked about that earlier, how reading can be a different method of comprehension, but then listening is also, uses a different sense. So it's nice to have both options sometimes. We don't have transcripts, unfortunately, for all of our episodes. It's one of the things you deal with. You know, we want to cover, although our show is inspired by the Canadian Federation of the Blind, and we're both blind, so that's the topic that we primarily discuss. We really want to start touching on more and more disabilities, because we don't even, we don't realize all this stuff that we should be knowing about all sorts of intersectionalities, like Kerry was talking earlier on her amazing panel. So we're just really trying to expand the show, and so it's been quite the ride since our first show back in September of 2018. Of course, back then we were in the studio at Radio Western in London, Ontario, and the show called Outlook. Actually, you'll hear some clips in the montage coming up about who we got the name from. You actually may have heard his voice today at some point if you've been paying attention. He has an accent, just a little hint there.
Yeah, for sure. So we start with our first montage in a second here, just showing you what kind of things we've covered. But yeah, we started in 2018 in the fall, and feels like ages ago, but it's a great platform. 94.9 CHRW Radio Western. If you're local in London, Ontario, you can listen on the dial. It's so cool to hear ourselves on the radio. That station is so great. That university station is so great. And you can also stream it on their website, radiowestern.ca/stream on Monday mornings at 11 Eastern.
For sure. We'll give our email out. I'll say it now, and I'll say it at the end, because that's really the best way you can get all the info, because I don't want to sit here railing off all
has left the
Twitter and all that stuff. So Outlook on Radio Western. So the show is called Outlook, and that's the station that is on. So Outlook on Radio Western at gmail.com. You can always reach us there with any questions, suggestions for the show, topics you think we should talk about that we haven't. If you're interested in ever being a guest on the show, you're always welcome to do that as well. So I just want everyone to know that. And what do you say, Kerry? I think we should get on to the first montage maybe, and then we'll be back to talk a little bit more and go from there. So as Kerry mentioned, we celebrated our 100th episode back at the end of January, so quite a landmark for us. And since our 100th episode, we did another sort of a special, looking back on the first 100 episodes.
Daryl Jones has left the meeting.
It was a ton of work. We selected a clip from each of our first 100 shows. So 100 different clips for one episode.
Daryl Jones has joined the meeting.
I think it took us 3 or 4 full days with Kerry visiting me in my apartment in London to complete this project that we had in mind. And I think it turned out real well. So this first montage you're going to hear is clips from our first 100 episodes. Obviously, we're not going to play the whole 100 clips. If you want to hear that, you can find our 100 episode spectacular, as we are also on podcast services. If you search for Outlook on Radio Western, you can find us as a podcast. So I'm just gonna stop talking now for the moment, and let's hear some clips from the radio and our first 100 shows of Outlook.
I can start talking, can I? Here I am.
You are on the air.
Hi, everyone.
Your name is Barry.
And you're from?
I'm from Ireland.
Ireland. Yeah.
From Belfast, Ireland.
And thank you for the idea. So we've been looking for an idea for our show, just want to say, and you came up with the out of the blue yesterday. You just said Outlook.
Yep, the name for the show.
You know, we had a charity barbecue all run by blind people the other day, which was very successful, put together here by our own Brian Kijewski. And blind people did all the barbecuing and served all the food and took all the money, and and people had never seen that before. So
right now.
All right.
Right channel.
We're on.
No
we're
theme
on
song this week?
It was
I
playing
don't know.
already.
I can't tell if that played or not.
It did. Well, it was playing to the right-hand side.
We have another guy in here today who on Outlook Outlook here.
There we go. We're center now. Sorry.
Wait a minute.
Are we on the air?
I don't know. I just screwed something up.
Oh.
We are on. Brian.
We are on?
Soul-crushing barriers for people with disabilities, Ontario. Still, that is just our souls are being crushed.
Apparently.
Oh, right.
Sorry for the abrupt stop there. I'm not sure what the issue is. My whole screen's showing, I guess, and I don't know if that's a problem. Can people hear me?
Yes, you can.
I can hear you.
If you just want to put everything down, then people don't.
Oh, just close it. You mean just like
or
close
you
it?
can unshare and you can just share audio.
Like if I do this, does that help or no?
Yeah.
I just closed all the apps. Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Continuing with the montage.
Chelsea has
This
left
board
the meeting.
that Brian runs,
Albert
it's not there's no
Rule.
markings on it,
Parksville
so
BC
it's
has
counting
joined
and
the
knowing how
meeting.
to, knowing which buttons to push, faders to bring up, what commercial to play on time, and that's all done by he's doing it by feel.
We're here with our 1-year anniversary episode, so
I call it 1 year around the sun.
I'm Roger, Winston, Adamson, Jonathan, Albert, Curry, the 17th.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting that. That's
Roger
that's
Curry.
Today I only have it out of 1 year. I'm hoping that's not how it's broadcasting over the air. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, well, you're all about sound, obviously, which is why we like radio here, and like when it can be a full sound experience. So for Outlook for 2020, I have a lot of ideas for the show this coming year.
I live in St. John's, Newfoundland, out on the East Coast. For those who are wondering, I'm sure some of you may already pick that up from my East Coast accent.
The reason I got into blind history was for the very thing you just said. There isn't a lot of history about blind people.
Martinello
We are
has
now
joined the
on
meeting.
Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Just trying to get as much Braille as I can because it just is like I found uses for it. Even though I'm not blind, I say Braille has helped me out so much, and I can't go back to my pre-Braille life, as I call it.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Brian and Kerry, Outlook has been a really wonderful addition to the information available to blind Canadians and to the public about blindness. So congratulations on your 2-year anniversary, and thank you for the work you do.
He's such a smiley kid, and he always has been, that it just kind of made me think about, a deeper meaning of true happiness doesn't have to do with, the things that, like material things or anything like that. True happiness comes from something within, and you don't have to, have sight in order to be happy.
Still recording from home, as we've been doing for most of this year, I guess, since April.
I think it's important that we all are supportive of one another.
Hey, you're very welcome, Brian and Kay, and keep up the good work, and I look forward to hearing your show in future.
Thank you.
So there you go. There are tons of clips in that montage there.
Am I on?
Yes, you are. You are on, Kerry.
All right. It's hard to keep up sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. No, we couldn't obviously show you everything, but that's just a small sampling from our first 100 episodes.
Probably a lot of voices in there you may have recognized throughout the convention today. We had Mary Ellen saying some very kind words about us in there, and had a great episode with her. We also heard Melissa from Happiness is Blind, who spoke earlier. Her quote in that segment about...
It makes me cry.
It does. It's so emotional talking about, you don't have to be... being blind doesn't have anything to do with being happy, and you can be happy no matter what. I'm not going to try and reiterate what she said, because she said it much more eloquently, but just such a powerful quote. And we included some bloopers in there because our show, obviously, the main themes are advocacy, accessibility, and equality. But at the same time, we want to keep some humor in there because it is very serious topics. And although they're very important, you also want to keep it light sometimes to sort of balance things out and not always make things feel too depressing, and I don't know. So it's a balance for sure, and taking a lot of practice.
I crack myself up listening to those bloopers even now with my own show. I'm laughing. They're just so funny, right? But it's not funny in the moment for sure. Some of those times, right, when you're trying to play something or you don't know if you're on the air or whatever. And but yeah, so we have friends on there. We have new people that we met just through the process of looking for guests, and you find such interesting people when you do that. So that's what Outlook's been for me. And just again, to have a show like that, so it's more common on the radio. So somebody like Melissa and her son will have more examples of what's possible and what blind people do to look at. So that's why I do it. That's one of the reasons. And it's a pleasure doing it with you, I have to say. It's so fun.
It is quite the experience, and it's been quite the change. We'll talk about that a little more at the very end here, just with the pandemic hitting. And you could hear in there, I said, now we're recording shows from home. And there was one clip where I just sounded kind of exhausted. I was like, we're still at home and it's October. And, that was just quite the unexpected change. But at the same point, in some ways, it had its benefits because we were able to get more guests, I found. We hadn't actually taken enough time to sort out the phone system in the studio. So when we were at home, just using our iPhone and my mixer, I was able to get a lot more interviews recorded, and pre-recording has some advantage. I still prefer live radio. It's always been my favorite thing. I began at the station with a music show first, so that's always been my big interest. And then Outlook sort of came along after that, inspired by the Canadian Federation of the Blind after our first time going to the convention in 2018, and then following that with our first time at an NFB convention. So it really was quite a crazy year of just so much new experiences, and it was quite the time. So, and yeah, just in the clip again, the bloopers, and you could hear the frustration because you're on the air radio live, and the difference with the podcast is obviously everything is edited if you want to. I try not to edit too much because I still like to make it sound as live as possible. And
but you're a perfectionist, and that's what makes it sound so good comparatively to a lot of things out there these days that anybody can just do a show on the internet or whatever. And so it depends on the great platform and the great hosts involved and the great people working on it. So you make it sound good.
Yes, and you also heard Pam in there talking about how I figured out the board, and I just want to quickly mention her in particular because she's no longer at the station, but she was the one who sort of asked us if we wanted to do a talk show from the beginning. I'd already been doing my music show at the time, and she's just one of those people. I mean, some people are just naturally have that ability to treat blind people like they're no different than anyone else, and that's the vibe I always got from that station, and especially from Pam. And you heard her there just talking about how I figured out the board, but it was never like, wow, you're so amazing or anything like that. It was more just, she was very respectful of what I did. And I just really appreciate her. So with that being said, I think we're going to play our second
Curry has left the meeting.
Montage, which is a little bit shorter. And then we'll wrap up with a few final words before we move on to Natalina Martiniello and Braille Literacy Canada. So since our 100th episode, we've had, as I said, 11 more. We just finished our 111th episode last week. But
and Brian, you're always counting.
Yes, Kerry, you know how much I love math and numbers. And so I love stats and keeping track of all of that. So yes, 111, great number for an episode there. And so since our 100th episode, Kerry had this idea to do siblings features. So in April, it's National Siblings Day on April 10th. So we thought we would revolved the entire month around blind siblings. So we have some clips from them, as well as this starts out with Family Day back in February. So the siblings series, in a way, sort of began then.
In February with our 2 sighted siblings.
Yes. So it was really great to have both of them on at the same time. Nice to have them on the show. And so this segment will include them and a few other pairs of siblings. Great. And so enjoy. Any sort of memories from growing up with music that stand out for you? The big one I was always going to bring up was going to a record store. You know, for me being blind, it's tricky in a store like that to be able to know everything they have. And
remember the times that Paul would read CDs for me and you?
Oh yeah.
Poor Paul. Poor you.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably should have brought bottles of water with me to. I got a little parched going through all of that stuff with you guys, but
how would you find that? It's kind of like browsing through CDs, Kim, looking through racks and racks of clothes with me all the time.
Yeah, you kind of get a feel for the kind of stuff that you like, right? So I'm shopping with you in mind. I'm not just picking out stuff I like, right? But it's a mix of both, right? You pick out stuff that you think is going to look good. Just my taste does bleed in there, but stuff that feels like I know to be conscious of the feel of the material. And
apparently all of us had pretend play radio station on a cassette tape growing up.
Oh my gosh, that was so we still have them. We had 2 of them as kids. And we still have them and we still bring them out every once in a while.
It's sure fun.
All the memories. Well, it's one of those things that we did together. I mean, bring it back to the sibling theme. Like we did so many different things and projects, and
camp was kind of like a young kid's version of convention.
I was turning 16 and I felt like I was getting my guide dog for the first time at the same time as my friends were getting their driver's licenses, and the bar was high.
Yeah.
1-2-2-6-2-8-9-9-8-6-9 has joined the meeting.
The training was a lot, and I want to see people today get that standard of education.
All right, Kerry, would you mind saying a few words? I feel like I've talked a lot, maybe more than you here. I'm a little nervous, I think, just never trying screen sharing before and all this stuff and just the agenda stuff. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
No problem. Yeah. So that was a sampling of siblings. Like we said, our 2 siblings who are sighted, and they're both such lovely, warm people that we just wanted to share them with the world. Eventually, I got over my fear of asking that they wouldn't even want to do it, and they were happy to. But then, we had our series all month long in April. Started with 2 people, Jessica and Jocelyn, who are around here, and they're, part of the family here. So we had the twins covered there, and they're a lovely, fun pair. And then we ended off the month with Eric and Maggie, as you may have heard them across this convention the last few days. And both of them made some Maggie had a great line, and Eric had a great point about driver's licenses and stuff. So we like to find these, lovely moments where we want to share it with the world, these guests, because everybody has so much wisdom to share. So that's what we're currently doing. And now we're looking towards the future, as this theme for the convention is choices and goals. What do we want Outlook to look like going forward? We would like to get a bigger audience for it. We think that there's a big hole to be filled in Canada as far as CBC could cover this stuff more and feature things more about disability. So, I've got a lot of big ideas, as I said, when 2020 started and the pandemic was about to hit, and then things sometimes come along and change that. So we'll always see, but it's been a great thing that we've done, and we're so glad we both took the initiative and started it, and it's been so beneficial for both of us, and it's helped strengthen our relationship. And I think we do great work together as far as audio projects. And so anybody wants to give any thoughts? So we're going to move on to the next presentation shortly here.
Yeah, I think we might have time for 1 or 2 questions, but nothing too long because we do have to wrap it up. I just want to quickly remind everyone again that Outlook on Radio Western at gmail.com. Send any message to that address. We're really trying to get more people involved in the show. So if you're ever interested in being on the show or have any topics, just email us at outlookonradiowestern at gmail.com. So we have time for a question or 2. I know Natalina Martiniello from BLC is here. So if there's any questions, we'll take a couple now. And if not, I guess it was boring. Nobody has any questions.
Oh, come on.
I'd love to be on your podcast.
That's why I was thinking that as you guys were talking about parents this morning, when you made your comment about your mom and stuff there, Joanne, and working with you on this convention's been so great, and you've been so helpful that we'd love to have more conversations about stuff with you on Outlook. It's important perspective, and I know how well your article and your speech were received at NFB there a couple of years ago about your growing up with your parents and things, and so.
We've had I just lost my train of thought. I'm really nervous right now, apparently. I think there's another question.
The screen sharing was great. Yeah.
And you have 2 hands raised. So, Justin, you're unmuted.
Well, guys, speaking as someone who questioned the hell out of you, pardon my French, for an hour and 46 minutes and counting, I would ask one, but I really look forward to just being on the podcast. I don't have a question, just thought I'd rub your nose in it a little bit, that's all.
We can't wait to have you on. After conventions behind us and we had all that planning we were doing, we're looking ahead with Outlook with all of you to come on. Love it.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to say that Kerry actually is the one who connected with Justin. He's from, I believe, near Oshawa, Ontario. And without Kerry, she wouldn't have maybe discovered that. And, he even, had us on his show. And it's crazy how things spread like that. And I just want to keep that happening. So also, this convention's been great because we've been making so many connections and there's more people that are interested than ever. So please reach out, Outlook on Radio Western at gmail.com. Awesome. Do we have any more or should we? There's one more.
Maybe if there's one more, then we should, if it's a quicker one, then we should.
Yes, it's a phone number, 9869. I'm going to ask you to unmute. You are unmuted.
Hey, guys. I wanted to congratulate Brian and Kerry. You guys put on a phenomenal production every week, and you are bringing the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of the blind community in Canada and even abroad onto the air. And I just wanted to commend you both for doing it. And if folks have not had a chance to listen to your shows, you're really missing out. And you got a little sneak peek with that little montage that they presented, but you really do have to listen to each show. It's even if you haven't listened to any of the shows, I'd say start at number 1 and go all the way through. Don't skip any.
Or start at Rogers. He was on and he's a great one.
Everyone should have probably heard him in the montage there with his joke about his super long name. And Kerry and I can be a little bit.
I fell for it. I
think we both fell for it. But I just think it added that humor that I was.
Yes. Thank you.
Right there on the spot, I'm like, I'm going to toy with these guys. It's Thanksgiving. Let's have fun with it. And they're like, oh, wow. Oh, I didn't know it was that long. I'm just toying with you guys. I don't have a middle name. I got nothing. I just got a first and last.
Roger. Thank you.
Awesome. I thought that was hilarious.
Great. Thanks, everybody.